So encryption is the way that we send messages to each other in such a way that if somebody sees the message, they can't read what it is. So for example, if we have Alice and she wants to send a message to Bob, there might be Charlie who's sitting there listening on whatever means of communication they're using to send the message, listening on the phone line or receiving the packets as they go over the web or whatever. But somehow Charlie's receiving this message. So Alice needs to encrypt this message in such a way that even if Charlie does see it, he can't understand what it is. To give you kind of the most basic example of encryption, we would use the Caesar cipher. So the Caesar cipher says I have a message like, I love you. We're going to ignore spaces for this. And our key would be +1. And we're basically going to take each letter and move down one. So I, J, L, M, O, P, V, Q, E, F, X, P again, and V. This is our encrypted message. This is what we call ciphertext. This is our original message. This is what we call plaintext. And this is our key. If Charlie doesn't know the key and Charlie sees the ciphertext, he can't figure out what the plaintext was. That's encryption in a nutshell. That's your basic encryption, and we use this all the time. Now there is another type of encryption that I want you to know about, public key encryption. Now what makes public key encryption different is that there's two keys, a public key and a private key. And somebody gives everybody a copy of their public key, right? Give you a copy, you a copy, you a copy, but they don't tell anybody their private key. The thing is, if you encrypt it with the public key, it can only be decrypted with the private key. So even though everybody has the public key, it's no good for them to listen to the messages. They can only use the public key to send secure messages to the person who has the private key. And this makes sense. If you think about it, when you go and log into your bank's website, there's no way for them to, nobody's going to show up at your house with a piece of paper with a string of ones and zeros on it, right? How do they get you the key for you to encrypt your data? They use public key cryptography so that everybody can see that public key, but only they can decrypt your message. Public key encryption is also the basis for what we call digital certificates, right? Anytime you go to a website that's secure, you get the little lock icon in the upper left-hand corner of your web browser. Yeah, what that means is that your web browser downloaded their digital certificate. Their digital certificate was, first of all, used a public key to prove it came from who it says it came from. And second of all, it contains their public key so that you can then send them secure messages. So really, that's pretty much everything that you need to know about encryption for this class. You need to know about private key encryption, which we still use a lot. If you encrypt things on your hard drive using the encrypting file system on Windows. If you encrypt a folder or a thumb drive or an entire hard drive using BitLocker, right? That uses private key encryption. Anytime you communicate over the web with somebody else, that's probably using public key encryption. So those are our two main categories of encryption. You don't need to know how they work. You don't need to know the different algorithms. That's beyond the scope of this class. You just need to understand how we're using encryption all the time and you don't even see it. If you have any questions, let me know.